It was impossible to get enough. It was impossible to tear herself away, even for a moment. She clung to every opportunity to be together, not realizing it was the end. Daniel slammed the door, leaving Isabelle devastated. She waited for the baby and painfully realized it was happening all over again. She'd been dumped by every man she loved. That man with the black eyes never left her mind. Augusta Schweinberger, cold and calm mother of the family, suddenly realized that madly in love. An Algerian officer, by some miracle in the Bavarian wilderness, stole the heart of a prudent German woman. "Come away with me," Isabelle Adjani simply offered. And she packed her bags. Swooning with happiness, not believing that she is capable of such a thing, Augusta left her husband and children to rush after his beloved in France. They settled in a small port Gennevilliers, northwest of Paris, where they had children. June 27, 1955 was born Isabelle, a pretty girl in which so bizarrely intertwined Algerian and German roots. Then, 2 years later, Eric. Mohammed worked from morning till night to feed his family. He was hired as a mechanic in a workshop, often leaving at midnight if his help was urgently needed. He fought hard, but he couldn't get out of poverty, and it seemed to break him. Isabelle saw how hard he tried, how desperately unhappy his eyes could be, and her heart filled with pity and pain. Her mother, too, was often thoughtful and sad. She worried about the children she had abandoned, afraid they would forget her forever. The best thing she could think of was not to talk about them out loud. It was easier to cope with this loss that way. And at the same time, her home was France, and she wouldn't give up Mohammed for anything in the world. "My parents," Isabelle later recounted, "loved each other wholeheartedly. I have seen few examples in my life of such an incredible feeling. Fidgeting around mirrors was forbidden. Makeup was out of the question. Isabelle Adjani was convinced that the best adornment of a girl, modesty, so Isabelle did not try to dress up or show off. Quiet, immersed in dreams, she loved to sit with a book by the window, noticeably animated only in the school theater. Gifted girl, the teachers said. So Isabelle was invited to participate in all the productions. Whether summer day, she was walking down the street, holding a wicker basket, when she stopped a stranger. Introducing himself as an assistant director, he handed the girl a piece of paper with a phone number and asked her to call. If she was afraid to do it herself, let her parents do it. "She has," said the man, "a very interesting appearance. You can come to a movie audition." That's how it turned out that during the school vacations at the age of 14, Isabelle starred in her first movie. Parents were adamant, no filming instead of studying. One must not exclude the other. They in this role agreed only because the girl was offered a fee, and then there was a second picture. What could only dream of happened, she was noticed. 17-year-old Isabelle called to play in the theater of Reims, where she rushed with all her legs. The production involved the famous actress Annie Ducot, crossed the threshold of 60 years. She was the one who played a big role in the fate of Isabelle, recommended the young star to his friend from the Comédie Française. Soon young Adjani stepped on the stage of the most famous theater in France. She was called Discovery, exalted that she is able to pass the role through himself, as if dressed in someone else's skin. After the play, Isabelle literally bathed in applause. It was so strange and frightening at the same time that she was sometimes afraid to go to the final bow. It's only just beginning. Andrew Dassalier told her cheerfully. He became her first love, but, alas, not long. Theater relationships actors Comédie Française did not take seriously, unlike this little debutante, like a timid doe. In the movie, she was offered the same type of roles of pretty girls, and in the scripts that were sent to her, lacked depth, so she often postponed them. All that changed when Isabelle came to François Truffaut. He told her about the idea that had captured him completely to convey the story of Adèle, Victor Hugo's daughter. An amazing, passionate, and yet heavy story of madness. Isabelle's eyes burned with fire. She agreed at once. "You can't do both," they told her in the theater. "It's too much work." So she chose the movies. The filming was exhausting and nerve-wracking. Isabelle felt that she was going crazy like her heroine, but Truffaut was relentless. He forced to reshoot the same scene, long explained his plan, and then roared again. Action. That movie, released in 1975, became a real sensation. Young actress Isabelle Adjani was nominated immediately for César and Oscar. Critics extolled her beauty and her talent, comparing then with Simone Signoret, then with Marlene Dietrich. And she experienced a great feeling. Operator Bruno Newton became for her the meaning of life. On the set, Isabelle smiled enigmatically, and then she wanted to hug the whole world. After all, she was expecting a child. Baby Barnaby was not yet born when Bruno left Isabelle. "My only girlfriend is work," Newton said. Single motherhood is not uncommon, but Isabelle was depressed. The very moment her career had skyrocketed, there were so desperate cats scrabbling at her soul that she wanted to weep. With Adjani successfully worked with Roman Polanski, then she was filmed with Gerard Depardieu and received the César she called to himself to shoot Buñuel. Playing the role of Emily Bront, Adjani received so much praise as never before in his life. But she was so exhausted that she decided to put life on pause. She didn't return to new filming until 2 years later. "She's so beautiful, she must be doing great," thought so many people. In fact, Isabelle was getting lost amidst the hype and social buzz. The more she was written about, praised, admired, the more she wanted to hide. Few people realized that, in fact, Isabelle, incredibly vulnerable and dreamy, as in childhood. If she refused to appear at a reception, it was considered a whim. Someone even began to spread rumors that she has a mental disorder. But filming had already made her addicted. Cinema is so fascinating that she began to understand the abandoned her Bruno. Already after the breakup, they repeatedly collaborated in other films without going beyond business relations. Isabelle still made directors casa, all the movies in which she played guaranteed to attract viewers. And on the Adjani sprinkled a new stream of awards. 4 awards César, another nomination for Oscar. Failed was only a Hollywood project, Ishtar with Warren Beatty. Disappointed, Isabelle left the US and France and flatly refused to star in the movie 9.5 Weeks. Would she have known what incredible popularity will be at this picture? She liked to play difficult roles. Pain over breakup now pain. Camille Claudel, the beloved Rodin, was a woman about whom it would be desirable to make a movie, and Isabelle took on the task with passion. The director was Bruno Adjani in the title role. Rodin played Depardieu. The movie received 5 Césars, many nominations, and 2 more Oscars in 1990. In England, at the premiere of the movie, Isabelle met with actor Daniel Day-Lewis and realized she was missing out. "We could not get enough," wrote Isabelle. "Between us was passion in its purest form, outside of convention, outside of everyday life. Such feelings are always doomed." If social networks existed at that time, she would have put the status. It's complicated, because with Daniel, it was exactly like that. Nervous, brash, cocky, self-assured, he could apathetize the public, and Isabelle saw him differently, touching and unhappy. The warmth she gave her lover should have warmed him, but it turned out otherwise. It seemed to him that Isabelle was smothering him with her love, to her that he was too cold to her. Sometimes he could not pick up the phone for days, and sometimes she was offended and did not want to go to meet. We're shooting Queen Margot by Patrice Chéreau, when feelings escalated to the limit. Play a tear in the Queen Isabelle was easy. She herself incredibly suffered. If she needed to cry, you could just remember about Daniel. And then the scenario repeated itself. She was expecting a child when Daniel said he was leaving her. He opted for another woman, the unflappable and quiet daughter of playwright Arthur Miller. A son, Gabriel Kane, was born in April 1995. This breakup was the hardest to get over, as Isabelle said that Daniel was the main love of her life. For this reason, they were never able to become friends, the broken heart wounded with sharp shards. There was another attempt with Jean-Michel Jarre. In 2000, he went through a difficult period of depression, and Isabelle literally pulled him out of this state. Relationships ended expectantly. Jean-Michel through Adjani. Separated called actress and Pere Laud, and women from around the world marveled. "Well, how could you leave such as Isabelle?" "I realized too late," said Isabelle, "that men do not like to be with those who saw their weaknesses. A woman for sorrow and a woman for joy are two different women. She was dumped by all the men she loved, but Isabelle went back to what gives her strength: creativity. She played Diane de Poitiers in the TV series. She voices cartoons and does theater. I'm a loner, she says. I guess it's built into me from the beginning.